There's this thing in the Battlefront community, this huge rumour. Some people take it as true, one day it's going to happen, and other people just absolutely hate it. Every time it comes up, they find it ridiculously annoying, and I'm just going to cover the whole thing today. What is it? It's the Ahsoka Tano, Asajj Ventress, Padme Amidala situation. I'm going to start from the ground up. How did this actually come to be a thing? Did people really just select 3 heroes out of the game and then all of a sudden the whole community wants them and thinks they're coming to the game? Or did this start somewhere? I'll give you a clue, it did. We're going to go back to where it all started. We're going to talk about all the different evidence that has since come out supporting this. We're going to cover the different comments about this situation as well, and also with different events taking place in the near future, especially the Clone Wars return, why this could happen or why it couldn't happen. So let's go from the start. When Battlefront 2 launched in 2017, it was severely lacking Clone Wars heroes, and I think the main ones people wanted to see were definitely General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin Skywalker, and we got those 3 as well as Count Dooku, so that was done and dusted. But before any of this happened, remember the game came out in November 2017. Now General Grievous was the first post-launch Clone Wars hero to arrive into the game, and that was all the way in October 2018, 11 months after the game's initial launch. Well, 3 months after the game's initial launch, Dennis Bromwell, the lead design director on Star Wars Battlefront 2, tweeted this: "Yes, there will absolutely be more female heroes and troopers in Battlefront 2. And this has probably become one of Dennis's most talked about tweets, and one of the most controversial as time has gone on. It wasn't exactly hard for me to acquire a screenshot of this tweet, because I actually did have a copy of this tweet saved on my computer, and then I recently lost a few files. Very tragic. And I was wondering, would I be able to get this back? But it's so easy, it's absolutely everywhere, and I think it goes to show how big of a subject this is. Now, when Dennis said this, he didn't necessarily mean Ahsoka, Ventress, Padme. There's a lot of female characters in Star Wars in general. He could have meant, for all that we knew at the time, Rose Tico, Admiral Holdo. Obviously, most of the fans don't like those characters, but he could have meant those characters. Now, a lot of people interpreted this as Ahsoka mainly. She's like the big name out of the 3 that everybody wants. And yeah, it kind of started off as a rumour from this with no direct confirmation. Okay, at the time, Dennis was teasing a lot of Clone Wars content for the future, a lot of which came true, like Anakin, for example, was teased, the 501st Legion was teased. Coruscant was kind of teased, I suppose, because there was a shot, you know, the shot with like Anakin, the 501st, walking up to the Jedi Temple, and he never really got Coruscant, but that's why I say almost everything came true. In this tweet also, he talked about female troopers, and that's 100% come true since this tweet, not only with the addition of new sequel trilogy reinforcements recently with the Oswinian Gunner specifically, but also just in general with appearances in the game. The Rebel Alliance and Resistance have a lot of different female aliens, so he did keep to his word in that respect. But as time went on in 2018, a huge announcement took place. The Clone Wars was confirmed to be coming back, and obviously everyone thought, okay, Clone Wars heroes for when this releases, and as I record this, that's next month in February. The Clone Wars is coming back. Insane really, but we'll touch upon that later on. But here's when things got very interesting. When General Grievous was added to Star Wars Battlefront 2 in October 2018, there was some voice lines found in the files from General Grievous directed towards Ahsoka Tano and Padme Amidala. Nothing to do with Ventress. Obviously Ventress's name is mentioned a few times in Battlefront 2 by Dooku and Bosk, strangely enough. Obviously if you watch the Clone Wars you'll know why that is. But yeah, let's play these voice lines, and this is where things got a bit complicated.
Ah, the Padawan, Skywalker's apprentice. So many lightsabers to add to my collection. Tano, so it is to be a rematch then. Your master is not here to save you now. Senator Amidala, I presume. Ooh, I've never killed a queen before. I will laugh as Naboo mourns your death. You only prolong the inevitable, Senator. This is for the malevolence.
Now, Grievous specifically says in these voice lines, Tano, obviously referencing Ahsoka Tano, and mentions Amidala as well. And these were removed from the game's files in the future. Now, what could this have been? Obviously, when they got the voice actors in for these Clone Wars heroes, they could have said to them, well, here's a possible list of heroes that could come to the game. We're going to get you to record some voice lines for these heroes, just in case. They might not come, but it's better to have you record them now than have to get you back in a few months to do it all over again, and I think that's very likely. But at the same time, like I said, there's so many female characters in Star Wars, and they must have had a shortlist. I doubt they had the voice actor for General Grievous, Matt Wood, doing voice lines towards Ahela Secora, for example, or Rose Tico, characters like that. They specifically narrowed this down to Ahsoka and Padme. But then you've got to pose the question of where in the world does Ventress come into this situation? And here's the funny thing about Ventress, while Ahsoka and Padme have got a bit going for them, the devs are absolutely obsessed with Ahsoka and Padme, you've got the voice lines here. Ventress actually hasn't been mentioned by name in any files, she hasn't been referenced at any point. It's kind of just a situation of, well, you know, when you get a hero, you're going to have a villain to go alongside them. And that's where Ventress came into this. Obviously, if Ahsoka came to the game, there's no doubt that Ventress would be the opposing villain. But there's actually never been anything towards Ventress. And I think that's the really interesting thing. That when you talk about these three heroes, the main ones people talk about are Ahsoka and Ventress. And a lot of people take it as confirmed, when really, there's more chance of Ahsoka Padme than Ahsoka Ventress at this point. And yeah, that would be two heroes, and I have no doubt if it was to ever happen, Ventress would be there. But bear this in mind, people, there's nothing to do with Ventress. There's nothing at all that I could have dug up to do with Asajj Ventress, which is really sad, but at the same time, I do think she'd be likely with Ahsoka. Padme, there's always been a bit of a situation there. Will she eventually come to the game? Who knows? And who would come alongside her? It's between Jango and Cad Bane, a lot of people think. Teasers have suggested Bane, and then other teasers have suggested Jango, so we just don't know with these two. I think there's a chance myself that it may just be Ahsoka and Ventress one day, and not Padme and whoever she comes with, but I don't know. Would they really put these voice lines to waste? We've seen recently with Battlefront 2 a lot of voice lines that haven't been present in the game have been added. A lot of the heroes have got new voice lines. Finn talks to General Grievous now and vice versa. It's pretty insane. But then I covered these tweets in a recent video last month, and Dennis was basically replying to someone on Twitter with this. You're right, we didn't get to the female heroes part. New female troopers coming in this update, obviously, which I mentioned earlier, they did get to female troopers. So I'm sorry for that. We did deliver on a lot of things I outlined long ago. Conquest-like experience, large-scale PvE mode, Obi-Wan and Grievous, instant action, etc. He then goes on to say this: to be honest, saying so many things back then was very risky and I shouldn't have done that. Looking back, things changed quickly in this industry. I just felt the community needed to hear it back then, so I felt the risk was worth it. And obviously, if you've been watching me since December, which isn't very long, so I'm guessing most of you have, you'll know about these tweets already. And this is where I went on to say that I don't believe Ahsoka and Ventress will be coming next month. Now, if you look at Star Wars in a bigger perspective here for a second, they're not very prepared when it comes to advertising what they create and making money off what they create. Baby Yoda was a perfect example. Now, I think, and this is like a very rare thing to say when it comes to Star Wars, but if you are a Star Wars fan, or if you are not a Star Wars fan, there's a very high chance these days that you've gone out looking for some Baby Yoda merchandise, which I'll admit I have. I'm gonna absolutely fill up my collection of Baby Yoda merch when that stuff drops in the summertime. But their preparation hasn't really been there. In terms of that, did they know he was going to be a success? No, but they didn't have any merch, and the amount of money they've lost off not having merch ready is insane. And they've done this again with the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is coming back in February. That is already a later date than it was originally supposed to be. It was originally supposed to launch with Disney Plus in November. Obviously, we don't have Disney Plus in the UK yet, which is tragic, but once again, with Clone Wars there's no merchandise for that. Disney are losing out on a lot of money. And it goes to say that the same thing kind of happens with Battlefront. Apart from the new movies, which Disney make them promote so much, like the sequel trilogy, the stuff that maybe the average fan isn't into, but when you talk about this Clone Wars stuff, this Mandalorian stuff, the merch isn't ready. And you look at Battlefront, and the Clone Wars is coming out next month, and there's no sign of anything coming. Yes, there could still be an announcement, but I highly doubt Ahsoka and Ventress will be coming in February. And this kind of goes back to Lucasfilm's preparation with things. They're not marketing some of their other stuff apart from the sequel trilogy very well. And I suppose that is where it goes off into kind of business talk at that point. And I know my average viewer won't be interested in business talk, so we'll cut that short. But overall, the point I'm trying to convey here is that Disney and Lucasfilm haven't been great with making extended media and extended merchandise to do with the content they produce. A really quick example of that is look how much Rose Tico merchandise was made. You've got the Clone Wars returning in February and no sign of Ahsoka Tano merch. Baby Yoda, huge success, no sign of merch for him. And I think that is a problem what DICE experience as well. It's what Lucasfilm allow them to do. Do Lucasfilm see the Clone Wars coming back as this really big thing? I don't think the Disney side of them personally do, and they'd more focus on their own content. This is kind of just something for the fans, and I don't think we're going to get to experience a lot of that Clone Wars content from the new season in Battlefront 2. And unfortunately, I do think Ahsoka, Ventress and Padme are eliminated at this point. But hey, I could be wrong, I really hope I am. But that is the story, that is everything, and when you look at it from start to finish, the voice line files are huge. Like, in themselves, that alone is enough to really ramp up this theory, but overall, there's not been that much stuff going for Ahsoka, Padme, and especially Ventress with Battlefront 2. It is really just a lot of rumours and DICE dev comments here and there, but thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and let's just see where things go, I suppose.